one point, I've been on at least 8 pills a day, one of which is an antidepressant, which is needed because it's a very emotional and physically draining disease to go through every day.
Only 10% of patients are men, and if you consider my experiences, one experience that I had when I was 16, this was months after I was diagnosed with lupus, I was in a lupus summit. There was a rheumatologist who was speaking, and here I am, a 16-year-old male, the only male in the room and the youngest person in the room, and this doctor said that he didn't think men had lupus. He thought we had something else.
I was diagnosed with lupus in 2007, and it took under a year for me to get diagnosed. I went to many rheumatologists, I went to several dermatologists, and in the end it was a dermatologist in New York City who diagnosed me based on a rash that was on my neck. The worst thing about lupus is not having people really understand the disease. It's very difficult to talk about a disease in terms of no cure and in terms of no cause.
My mom was diagnosed in 1999. I was 5 years old at the time. Having lupus in the early 90s, doctors couldn't even pinpoint what it was. I just remember as a kid, my mother being sick and I had no reason why she was sick. She was in and out of the hospital for about 2 weeks before they even diagnosed her with lupus. I'll never forget the day that I came to the hospital and I see my mom with all these tubes. That broke my heart as a kid to see my mom just being helpless.
Lupus has affected my life in many ways. From a young age, at 25, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune rheumatoid arthritis, and it then carried over into an addition of lupus. My daughter ended up having a kidney transplant. Lupus had attacked her kidney, and she went through dialysis for a year and a half prior to being able to get a kidney transplant. And this was very difficult.
It just does not enable me to live the life that mentally I want to live, because I have to step back, and having people not be able to understand what I'm going through, that is definitely one of the hardest parts about having lupus.
When you hear as a male that, one, you have a disease that's common in women, you kind of wonder about your masculinity, and you wonder whether or not you're some unusual person. Oftentimes I'm just the only male in the room, and so I think what we can do as men with lupus is get together, share our experiences. You know, it's important for men to know that they have a support system out there outside of their immediate family.
You have to, above all, keep it together. You have to find a strength from within that you never knew you had to be there for your child through the constant disappointments that they're going through health-wise. It may look like I always had it together, but I didn't always have it together. As a parent, you just be there for your child. Getting the devastating news that your 18-year-old child has to go on dialysis, there's no way, unless you've been through it, that you could even comprehend what it does. And until there's a cure, these are all issues that we have to deal with, all of us. The bright side of how I try and look at something positive is that even though I have this disease and my daughter has it, at least I can do something to help somebody else.
Lupus Foundations of America, this Destiny. As a community outreach manager here at the Georgia chapter, I assist patients with lupus. I connect those patients to support groups. I connect them with physicians. I connect them with resources, and I connect them with education programs. The most rewarding part of my job is being a part of the Emergency Finance Assistance Program. To me, it is a program that helps patients in need, like those like my mother, who are going through a difficult time who has just been diagnosed with lupus.
When I was in college, I was forced to drop out because I had a lupus flare. As a result of dropping out of college, I lost my medical coverage. This foundation needs your support because many patients are dealing with similar issues, like mine, where they're struggling to find health care, struggling to find ways to pay for medication, struggling to pay utility bills, struggling to live, struggling to survive, hoping not to die.
What I love about the Lupus Foundation Georgia chapter, they are extremely supportive. When my child was in the hospital, they called us. How is she doing? Not only Alexa, but how was I doing? Just knowing that they were there, I mean, that's priceless. I'm extremely lucky that I have this resource available for me and my daughter and my family.
When I was diagnosed, I had no idea what lupus was. So I did what everybody usually does, is go to the internet, and I was fortunate enough to find the Georgia chapter of the Lupus Foundation of America, and I immediately found all the resources I needed to learn about this disease. I was able to get connected with a group of fantastic people who understood what I was going through and was able to provide the support that I needed.
The chapter is a great resource for anyone who has been diagnosed, who doesn't know where to turn to. They have all of the resources. They have support groups, and they are really focused on education, awareness, and research in order to help us find a cure and a cause for this disease. By getting more funding, we're able to bring our programs, our education, our awareness to other parts of the state that might not have the infrastructure that we have here.
Georgia chapter of the Lupus Foundation of America helps provide resources, helps provide funding, and most importantly, a support system.
It is so important to support the Lupus Foundation. For every dollar that we receive in funding, we are able to generate $2.50 in federal funding. And that money goes to helping to find a cure. So it's a big deal. It means a lot to us to be able to get support because it helps drive the bigger picture of a cure for all of us who have a lupus.
As one of the 55,000 Georgians living with lupus, increased support and funding will significantly improve our lives.